Yes, people. Get this all set up properly. Now, what's happened here is I did have a link set up to do the live on a separate thing. But obviously, I'm still brand new to doing these lives. Excuse me. And when I clicked on it, I couldn't get it up. Johnny Malia, hi, mate. Taking our rights back. Hello, mate. So there's only subscribers can comment on this. Andrew Crofts, hello, mate. Tony Bethune, hi. Alex Stride, I'm doing good, mate, thank you. Jason Jackson, how you doing, pal? MMA Legal, evening, mate. Hope you're all doing well. I've not long been back in. I've trained twice today. 2 seconds. I'll just rub this screen because it looks a bit... My camera looks a bit... Yeah, we'll go on. It's a bit better because it looked a bit... finger marks on it. Mike Smith, hi, mate. John White, Emma Clark, hello. But I did, like I've just mentioned, I set the live up to be on... I set it up on a different thing, on a different live page, but when I went to click on it, I couldn't get it on. So forgive us if anyone else was waiting on the other one, waiting to get on there. Taking our rights back. I'm from Borough. Have you got the... Yeah, John Usher, evening, mate. Darren C, staying free, in the place to be. But Taz Groceries, how you doing, mate? Thanks for your continuing support. You always commenting, saying nice things on me posts. But what I will say is massive thanks to all you subscribers again, because I like to always thank you, because you're like I've said before, if it wasn't for yous, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't have my videos. I wouldn't be getting the views. But if you've had a look recently, I'm up to 28,500 nearly, I think. 28,500 subscribers. So since New Year's Day, it's went up by 8,500 subscribers. It's flying up. Channel's doing really well. And that's thanks to all you lot. But if there's anyone tuned in who's watching now, there's only subscribers can comment on my channel. So if you're watching and you're thinking why you can't subscribe, it's because you're not subscribed. So head down, click that subscribe button, and welcome on board. I'm doing really well, mate. Stephen Butler, all right, mate. Rascal Flats, new sub, nice one. Thank you very much. Alex Stride, keep up the hard work. So I'll just tell you a little bit about my day of the day. The second time training. I've got my boxing fight coming up in a little over 3 weeks. So I was training this morning, done a run, a row, and a power walk on the exercise machines. Had me dinner, went back up the gym, done a bit of work in the gym, then onto the boxing class, and just had a few rounds sparring at the end of the boxing class, which was really good. And I flat out training. Just got back in the house at 7:45, quickly had a shower, had me tea, straight on here. Non-stop since 5:30 this morning, but wouldn't have it any other way. Nice one, Alex Stride. Taz Groceries, 50k soon. Definitely 50k will be coming up soon. Anita Fruin, enjoying your content. Thank you very much, Anita. N40, hi Ricky, hope you're well. Love your channel. So inspiring. I'm glad so many people find it inspiring and they take a lot from it, because that was the reason why I built this channel. I know it's a lot about prison and all that as well, but I'm not glamorizing prison or anything like that. I'm just stating facts and telling people about prison, because everyone loves hearing the prison stories. But what you get on my channel is a 100% real. There's no fake shit like you get on all the other channels. I'm straight down the middle. What you see is what you get. And like I say, I'm just here to educate people about prison, do a bit of motivation talks, and try and sell some of my t-shirts. Ruthless Fitness, Train Like a Warrior. They're on my website if anyone wants to buy one. We've also got Ruthless Fitness tops. hoodies, t-shirts, my book. It's all on my website. Behind the Bars, ruthlessfitness.co.uk. Ron Love, bro, you're an inspiration to anyone trying to sort out their life. Anyone that's been places and done bits that they regret, you inspire change, bro. Thank you very much, mate. See, a lot of people that are watching these, as well as lads that have actually been to prison, and because they've got someone like me talking and being open and honest about feelings, mental health, and different things that you experience while in prison and different things, a lot of people are taking a lot of inspiration from it, because I think deep down, a lot of these lads that have been to prison, they think they've got to keep some sort of reputation going or some sort of persona, and they're seeing someone like me speak up about how prison was and how I am, and I'm being open and honest with me feelings and everything. And I think a lot of the people watching this are thinking, fucking hell, I wished I could do that, or he's right in what he's saying. But yeah, that's why I'm wanting to, that's why I'm doing this, to inspire you all. Motherwell boys, Ari bro, not long subscribed, done a few sentences myself, and reminds you've got a good channel, bro. Thank you very much. I take you from Motherwell up in Scotland. Is that Scotland? Sure it is. Emma Clark, hi Ricky, your channel is doing fantastic. Thank you very much. My core day was in Franklin in '94. I was on the YP back then. Rascal Flats, you are a rare role model for guys who are, and we're on the wrong path. Yeah, like I say, that's what I'm doing, because a lot of people that are watching this that have been to prison themselves, and they're seeing me speaking facts, and they're thinking, like I've just mentioned, it's bringing out a different side to a lot of people, because a lot of people have sent us direct messages and private messages, and they've said, like, what you're doing is absolutely great. A lot of people are actually showing me videos to the kids and that as well, which is quite humbling and quite good for myself, like knowing that people are showing my videos to kids to inspire them and show them not to go down that path and not to go down the path that I went down. Yes, bro, Scotland. I thought it was Motherwell. Yeah, Gavin Cole. That Leroy was some character, isn't he, Ricky? He seems quiet as a mouse. Leroy's a good lad. He's totally changed his life around. Leroy, if anyone doesn't know who we're on about here, Leroy Smith. If you go into my playlist section on here, I've got a list of me podcasts that I've done with ex-prisoners that have turned their lives around. And Leroy Smith, everyone that's been in the system, probably most people knows him, and he has turned his life around. He went to prison for shooting 2 coppers. He got done with the 2 attempted murders. He got a sentence of 25 years. Oh, 2 seconds. I just need to switch that phone on silent. And he got done with 2 attempted murders and got 25 years. But he's come out and he's actually went and met the copper, and they've actually sat down and they've actually become friends. He's an ex-policeman now. He's retired. But they've actually sat down, come to become friends, speaking with each other, and obviously it's good to see, seeing that he's been forgiven and that they've moved on with their lives. Ricky, were you ever in prison with Paul Ferris or Ian Blink MacDonald? I was never in with any of them two, but Paul Ferris was in Franklin just before, I think it was a year or 2 before I got there, and some of the lads that I become friendly with whilst I was in Franklin had actually been on the wing, the same wing, because he was on the wing that I went on to. That was the wing that Paul Ferris went on to, the one that he talks about in his book. And a lot of me, like I say, the people that I become friendly with on the wing all spoke highly of him, said he was all right. He was just a lot of people are in them places, big time gangsters out here, but in there, they just get on with it. You just get on with your time. Everyone tries to get on with each other as best as possible, because you're living together and no one wants to be fighting on, because if you're fighting in them places, it's not just going to be a punch up, it's going to be a fight to the death with weapons as well. You are a great role model for our kids. Thank you, Emma. See you later, mate. Taking our rights back is off, no bother. I did 2 remands and 2 stints at Woodhill Prison, and the YY was not great. That's from Pegasus UK. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. I've subscribed to your channel as well. Tor Holman, even a mate, found your stuff recently. Really inspired by your story. Thank you very much, mate. Tor Holman, whereabouts are you from then, Tor? You sound like I don't know. Tell us where you're from. Rascal Flats, 48 peeps watching already. Nice one. 50 people in. Should be a lot more people getting in here for these lives because, like I say, there's a lot to talk about. But Tor, catch gate, mate. Fucking hell. Must be a nickname, that is it, Tor, because it sounds it's a bit like Thor Stoltman. That's what it sounded like. Mike Smith, you're a legend, sir. Been working hard. Yes, thank you very much, mate. Don't hate, appreciate. Did a small stint. Tor, it is. Boris Shallowgrave, even a mate. Is that a picture of young Frankenstein on your profile picture there? I remember watching that film years ago. It was quite funny. It looks like that picture. Boris Shallowgrave. What a picture. But I was going to talk about a couple of different things tonight. One of my videos I put on, what I'd done with Jay, the last podcast I'd done a little 10-minute clip, took it out of it and put it on. It was about Victor Castigador. I think that's how you pronounce it, Castigador. And yes, bro, how you doing, Chris? Cheers, bro. Keep up the good work. But I saw Jay, who I had done the podcast with. I just took a 10-minute clip out. Evening, Alan Hawk. Hope you're doing well, mate. Took a 10-minute clip out, and he told us about when he was on the wing with Victor. And as soon as he said Victor on the podcast, I knew who he was talking about. Because anybody that's been in the high security prisons has heard of who Victor was. I didn't actually realize he was dead until I found out on that podcast. But Victor was originally from the Philippines. He came over here as a teenager, I believe. And he came over here as an illegal immigrant. And I think he was doing robberies and different things like that. And he went to prison for 2 murders initially, I think it was, on two people from Sri Lanka. He went into an amusements and he robbed an amusements, like an arcade place. And he actually set them on fire. David Gannon, how you doing, pal? He set them on fire. I think there was 4 of them that he set on fire and 2 of them died. And he got, don't quote us, but I think it was around about a 25-year rec for that. And whilst he was in prison, he killed another 2 inmates, I believe. One of them was a child killer. He'd killed his 3-year-old kid, his own child. And Victor had actually told the governor that if they put him back in the workshop with this person, he was going to kill him. So on the Monday, gets opened up for work, and they take him to that same workshop, put him in the workshop with this child killer, and he ended up stoving his head in with a rock out of the fish tank. And like Jay said, if you go back on the video, he was on the wing at the time with Victor. He became friendly with him. He was on the food boat with him. And he'll tell you all about what happened with this individual, this Victor, what happened. The screws had come back on the wing, covered in brain matter and everything off when they killed him off where Victor had actually killed him in the workshop. But I believe this was his second murder whilst in prison. And he attempted to kill somebody else. But he was also known as the prison hitman because obviously he was doing hits in prison. But when I say hits, he was like obviously going to be killing people because he had nothing to lose. He was doing life without parole. And that's what he said when he killed this child killer. He didn't obviously clash with him in the workshops. And he said he didn't want to be near him no more. So he ended up stoving his head in with this rock that he got out of the fish tank. And he got put down the block. And not long after, he went to court and he pleaded not guilty. And he was pleaded not guilty on the basis that he told the governors what he was going to do. And he told all the prison staff, but they still went down and put him in the workshop, knowing fine well what he just said. So he went on to kill the bloke. And that's why he said not guilty in court, because he was going to spill the beans on the screws and the governors in court. But then here, when he was in the block down at Woodhill, I think he said, in the blocks, it's just like if you've ever been in a police station, it's just like that. There's nothing to hang yourself off, anything like that. But yet Victor was found dead in his cell, and they said it was due to hanging himself. But there's no way to hang yourself off. So there's been talk that there was foul play went on, and it was all to do with what was happening in the system, because he told them all that he was going to kill this individual, and actually he went on to kill him, and the governors and the prison staff were to blame because he told them that what he was going to do, but they still put him in. Yeah, it was definitely a gruesome story. Right, here we are. Neil Stano now, mate. Shout out from the borough. Nice one, pal. Yeah, can't pronounce that one. Love your stories. Keep it up. Thank you. Cheers, Emma. Rascal Flats. Oh, wow. Definitely sounds like foul play. That's crazy. Yeah, some crazy stories in them prisons in the high security state that you didn't ever hear about out here. And I know I mentioned a lot about Charles Bronson last week, everything that was coming up leading up with his parole hearing. And this is something that me and Jay spoke about on the podcast. Everyone hears about Charles Bronson, think Charles Bronson is the deadliest or the maddest in the Cartier system or in the blocks and all that. But there's loads of people in the blocks and in the units that nobody out here has ever heard about. You never hear about them, but they're that dangerous. They've been in the block, some of them for 20 years, as long as Charles Bronson. But yet these people, some of them, they've killed people in prison. Charles Bronson's never killed anybody. But yet these people out here have never heard of some of these nightmare people. That's the only way you could describe them, some of them, because of what they've done. And these people are stuck in the blocks, and they can't put them anywhere else. A bit like Robert Maudsley, he's another one, but everyone would have heard of him. They've got him in a glass box underneath Wakefield prison. He's in his cell, all by cell. It's got glass perspex so they can see in. And he killed 3 inmates, I believe. I've done a story on him before, but I've done that many different stories and hear that many different things. I can't remember all the facts. That's why sometimes when I'm doing these podcasts or when I'm talking, I actually read off something so I get the facts right. Because a lot of people that have been in prison with them will be thinking, well, that's not right. So I like to try and get all the facts right. But Robert Maudsley, I think he killed 3 people whilst he was in prison. And all of them were child molesters who he killed. Torham, that's madness. Yeah, it is. JD, I listened to that Yummy B podcast about Victor after he got mentioned on yours the other day. Top channelist, mate. Cheers, mate. Ali Hawk, what was your experience with the Brotherhood? Yeah. And when he's speaking about there, the Brotherhood obviously means the Muslims. There's a lot of Muslims, lads. But I was all right with the Muslim lads in prison. I never had any trouble whilst I was in Franklin prison. I never gave them any trouble. It didn't give me any trouble. So, got along all right with them. Obviously, after I'd left Franklin, there was a lot going on. Because at the time, the Brotherhood, obviously, when we were in Franklin, everyone seemed to get along with everybody. Obviously, you had the types that have been in there for a long time, the likes of Warren Slaney. He didn't get on with a lot of them. And not long after I left, I heard there was loads of... when I was there was a lot of riots kicking off. And that was after one of the terrorists, Darren Barrett, he got hot oiled. And I've spoke about it on my podcast. That was the second day I was there. And that set off a lot of chain reaction events afterwards, because obviously with them being Muslim, all the Muslim lads stuck together. And there was a lot of animosity and hatred going on the wing. And it ended up going off. There was a bit of a riot whilst I was in there at the time. Yeah. A lot of the Muslim lads against a lot of the white lads. We are. Even in Ricky, there's been no further update with Charles Bronson's. Say with Charles Bronson's parole here, and what happens is, I think it's up to 14 days afterwards, or 21 days. Maybe it's either 14 or 21 days for your answer after the parole hearing. You don't hear anything straight away because obviously the parole hearing's got to take on board everything that's been said. Then they've got to go and deliberate, a bit like a jury when the jury's out on a trial, and they've got to decide on what they're going to do with him. Obviously, with him, it's going to be a very hard decision, whatever they do. But yeah, it's 40. Yeah, Pegasus, 14 days it is. I thought it was. Daniel Cheadle, Brill channel mate, thank you. Can you do a shout out to Danny, Abby, Ebony, and Alex? Shout out to Danny, Abby, Ebony, and Alex. Thank you all for watching. Paul Adams, cheers, mate. Cracking channel, he says. Is there only 2 of them boxes in Wakefield for Mosley and Bronson, pal? Bronson, I don't believe was in. The same as what Maudsley was in. Bronson is in Woodhill at the minute, and he's on a unit. Bronson normally gets put on the units and he gets moved around them, but I think this one that Maudsley's in was built especially just for him. How do you think cases like Charles Bronson should be handled? Long-term inmates who might not cope with the outside. But is that a good enough reason to keep them in? This is from Tor Holman. Well, Tor, cases like Charles Bronson should be handled with a lot of care. They should definitely have a plan ready for him. But before he even got to this stage, before he even went for his parole hearing, he should have really, because you can get downgraded everything without having a parole hearing. You can't actually get all this done through probation, sentence planning and stuff. So you can get downgraded without even having a parole hearing. You can get down to Cat B, then Cat C. That's all down to the Home Office when you get off the book. When you're a Cat A prisoner, yeah, it's called getting off the book, and that's down to the Home Office. So all this could have really been done before his parole hearing came up, which would have given him a better chance. But I don't think he's helped himself in that respect. So, but I think it should be handled with care, and I think there should be put down the system into Cat C and then slowly introduced back into society. Give them a fair chance, because if not, you're setting them up to fail, and someone that's been in that amount of time deserves a chance at getting back out. He's 70-year-old now, and he needs a chance at life before it's too late. You get one chance at life, and then it's over. You don't get another chance. Once that life's over, you're done. There's no more coming back. So hopefully he'll have a good few years outside, living somewhere decent in the countryside, and enjoying his bit of freedom. Executive Lounge, would you say that Frankland is the biggest and baddest prison in the UK, as it has the UK's most dangerous prisoners? It's one of them, but it's not the baddest. But you've got Wakefield, Frankland, Whitemore, Long Lawton, and Full Sutton, which is, they're all the same as Frankland. They're all dispersal prisons, high security, and they're all just as dangerous and just as bad as each other. Then you've got the likes of Belmarsh, Woodhill. They're all bad jails, naughty jails. A lot of people have commented on that before, saying I've been in Frankland before. What you're on about, it's a fucking cushy jail. But it is a good jail. It is a cushy jail. Out of the 5 prisons that I've been in, it was the best, as in you get the best routine, get the best of foods, because you can cook your own food. So it is, but it's dangerous. It's a dangerous old place. When it kicks off properly, and you, like I've mentioned earlier on in the video, it's not going to be a punch-up. It's going to be a fight to the death where people's going to stab you, do anything they can to seriously injure you. Public Eye, respect from Sunderland. Cheers, pal. Don't hate, appreciate, big up this guy. He's repping Northerners. Cheers, mate. Emma Clark, I feel it will be hard for Charles if he does get released. He won't get released. There's not a glimmer of hope of him getting released straight from a prison. He's got to go down the system, and he's got to get integrated back into society, or even back into a normal wing, before he even goes on to thinking about getting released. Will Brown, thank you, mate. Stephen Butler, all right, I've been using your book for training in the gym. Cheers, Stephen. I hope it's helping you along, mate. Let us know on your progress. Let us know if it's doing the do's for you. No bother at all. Alex Stride, well stood, well said. Free Bronson. Yes, Pegasus, that's a problem that kept him in the block. What was the nicest ever meal you had whilst in Frankland? Yeah, it's probably my favourite meal, which was steak and chips with peppercorn sauce. But there was a meal that I remember. It was a lad from up in Newcastle, Coco. He made it for us all. It was Chinese 5-spice. The chicken with hoisin sauce. That was it. Chicken and hoisin sauce. It was like a bit of a Jamaican scran. I think he called it rice and peas. It's got like the rice and peas with the chicken and hoisin sauce. I can't remember the exact name of the meal, but it was lush meal. That was probably one of the best. When you're in prison, did you do the Shannon Trust or were you a listener? I didn't. This is off Jimmy, NUFC. Jimmy, no, I never done the listeners course or the Shannon's Trust, but I've done a lot of other courses whilst I was in there, but I didn't actually do those ones, mate. What about Curtis Warren? Yeah, Curtis Warren got out not so long back. He's on strict conditions. I never came across him whilst I was in. I think when he went back in on the one he's just finished off, that was after I got released. A care home for long-term and the elderly inmates would be an idea. Oh, definitely. I think they have got like a wing that, in fact, they've got in a lot of the jails, they've got a long-termers wing, like a lifers wing. Sometimes I've been in a prison before where they've got an over 50s wing or an over 50s landing, and they keep all the older ones on there where they're more level-headed. There's never hardly any trouble because they just want to get on with the time. What happens if you can't sleep with the door shut? You're fucked. Simple as. I was talking to someone who's just done a few years in Lindholm. By all accounts, it's a bit rough in there. That's from Matt D. Lindholm is a Cat C prison down in Yorkshire, and a lot of the Cat C prisons are actually rough, to be honest. And some of the Cat C prisons are rougher than the Cat A prisons, in the simple fact that every day something's happening in a Cat C prison. There's nearly fights every day. There's people getting done in. There's more people getting, like I say, people paying to get other people done. Nearly every day there's a fight or something happening in there, but the violence isn't as extreme as what it is in the Cat A's. But there's a lot more happening. It's a lot more lively in the Cat C prisons. Because there's a lot more drugs in them prisons as well. Stephen Kraken, respect from Northern Ireland. Cheers, pal. Cheers for watching. Wesley Winter, hey, good stuff from Manchester. Night one, pal. Haley and Gary, how you doing? Thanks for watching. Lovely couple. I've been in Donny Marshgate YOs. That was wild. I would have been them here. Them young offender prisons are mad. Like I say, they're lively as well. Jay Gazilli, oi from Concert. Cheers. Nice one, pal. But like I say, everyone who's commenting here, you're all subscribers, so thank you all for your continuing support. Because on me, what I've done on these lives is put it on so only subscribers can comment to stop all the idiots commenting. Because I've seen, not that I've had any on mine, but I've seen on the other channels where a lot of people are putting daft shit and giving them loads of grief in the comments. So if you're not subscribed, then you can't do that. Right, here we are. Do you think Charles could manage being outside once he goes through the system? Well, once he goes through the system, he's been to Cat C, and then he does a Cat D, and then he gets day release, and then he's been back out, and he starts feeling a bit more settled out. Definitely, anyone can adjust to anything. If you can adjust to being in a unit, you can adjust to being out, being a free man. Absolutely. Did you meet that nail bomber? I did not meet him. I forget what his name is. But there was a lad that I was in Franklin with. When you mentioned nail bomber, he was called Jamie from up Northumberland. I'll just tell you this little story since you mentioned that. And he was he got done for being a terrorist because he was actually making homemade bombs. Don't know if anyone remembers the Jolly Roger cookbook, I think it was called. It was on, used to get it on the internet back in the day. And he went on to make his own bombs, and he ended up blowing a couple of his fingers off, and he had big marks in his stomach where the bomb had went off and blew bits of his intestines and that out. And he was on methadone every day, and he just walked around the wing, like looked off his head every day, but it was because of the medication he was on, because of he blew his fingers off, and he's had nerve damage on the end of his fingers. Hadi says, Ricky, what you went into prison for? I've done loads of podcasts. If you flick back through my previous videos, there's a video where I've got my story on, where I'm telling my full story. I was in prison for violence, two violent offences, what I committed whilst I was 20-year-old, 18 years ago now. Something obviously that I regret, but young and daft at the time, and you've just got to reap the consequences afterwards. Obviously, like I say, I went back in for a car offence on a recall because I'm IPP, which is a 99-year sentence. That sentence stays with us for the rest of my life, or until the parole board see fit that I don't need to be on it anymore. Padge, how did you change your mindset from being a criminal to the good path you're on now? Good question. Obviously, the way I grew up, I had no proper guidance. As much as like my family, my dad, my mum and all, I tried the best. I still didn't have, like, I would say, like proper guidance, like good role models to look up to. And that was the environment like I was brought up in. I don't mean in the house, I mean like outside when I was out mixing with other people. And the mindset, I got into a warped mindset from a young age, wanting to go to prison and different things. So when I went to prison, I sat there and I thought, like, what an idiot. I'm sitting in here for years on end when people's out there living their life, making an honest living for themselves. That's when I thought, like, prison is not the place to be. Anyone who's in that mindset, try and change it, get out of it. But yes, I came out and I wanted different things for myself and my family. And that's the reasons why I changed my mindset, because I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to make myself an honest living. I wanted better things in life. I didn't want that life. I didn't want to be stuck in prison for the rest of my life. Like I say, I'm IPP, so I could go back to prison at any time for committing minor offences. So I'm keeping on that straight and narrow path for the sake of my wife, my kids, my whole family, and for myself. Vast active, have I missed it? You haven't. I've missed a few of these comments. I'm just going back. King Jamin, way aye lad, how we doing? Hi Ricky, Huntley, Belfield are the likes of Mick, April Jones, etc. Do you think they should be in mainstream prison, whether the prisoners not getting special treatment? I think a lot of them, if they were put in with normal prisoners, they would think twice about what they were doing to kids. And obviously, I think everyone should be mixed in. Right, it's a hard one, but if you mixed everyone in together, then there'd just be a whole lot more. There'd be murders happening. So hard one to answer that. Vast Active had some good questions. I definitely had some good questions tonight. Paul Nicholson, hi mate, very good. Keep them coming. Cheers, pal. Stephen Butler, Belmarsh is bad, I'd imagine. King Jammin, smash that like button. 39 likes and 200 watches. Aye, good. Nice one, mate. So anyone that's watching at the minute, hit that like button. Get the likes up. It's only had 41 likes and it's had 200 people watching it so far. So, oh, well, let's see them likes going up. Raoul Mort, I mentioned him on the last live. Someone else asked about him. He used to work up in Stanley on the doors. He was actually quite a fair fella back in the day. Obviously, what he went on to do was a bit crazy and a bit mad. But I didn't. Obviously, I knew him when I was about 15, 16, when he was the doorman. We used to go in the local bar up here, and he was fair with all of us youngins. So that's all I know on Roll. I never knew him when he went to prison, and obviously when he went off his head afterwards. Matt says, "Do you think Michael Stone is innocent, Rick?" Haven't got a clue, mate. And all these people that watch things and come up with their own theories and stuff, no one really knows the ins and outs. It's only what the media want us to see. So I've never really looked into it properly, but I'm not too sure on that one. I think he is. I think he has done it, me, to be honest. Like DJ Darkside, you've done well for it, Ricky. Cheers, mate. Nice one. D, hi from the Scousers. Yes, Scousers. Yeah, the Geordies and the Scousers all got on. Scousers are mad as hatters. Just about everyone I've come across has been fucking crazy, but they're a good set of lads to be in prison with because you get a laugh with them. They're always hyper. I don't think I've met a Scouser that isn't hyper, to be honest. That prison guard, what's up, Ricky? Tapping in from California. So that prison guard, it was just commented there. I'm doing a podcast with him on Sunday. And if you go and have a look at his channel, he was actually a prison guard in some of the toughest prisons in California, I believe. And we're going to get together do a podcast. I'm going to ask him about what it was like in the prisons over in California, get a take from a different side. Obviously, I've interviewed prisoners. Now I'm going to interview Screw from America and see what he's got to say about the prisons on his point, and see if he can see things from a prisoner's point of view. Haley and Gary, I hope so. Charlie gets out. He should do, mate. No, he'll not get out yet, but I mean, in a couple of years he will. Tor Holman, what do you think might have made a difference to you as a kid? I think if I did listen to what people were trying to tell us, or if I had an influence like myself in my life when I was younger, someone that would put us in a gym, or like make us train, go to the gym, and maybe get into boxing, because that's what I'm doing with my son. I'm not making him, actually. He's loving comes to my gym, and he does the boxing classes with me. I think if I got into that, I mean, don't get us wrong, I did try, but I didn't stick with it. But I think if I got into a bit of boxing, had a bit of discipline, things might have been a bit different. Hi, Ricky. After 10 years out, us IPPs can apply for our license revoked. Yes, I know that, mate. I'm in the process of applying for mine. Well, it'll be this year, actually. If you're IPP and maintain innocence, can you be released? The simple answer is yes, because I've been in prison with a lot of lifers that were in for murder, and they've actually kept up, maintained the innocence, and they've actually went on and been released on parole. No other men are always crazy. IPP has been changed. It hasn't. It's been abolished. It's no longer given out. Emma says, "Hi, Ricky. Can you remember the Dunblane shooting?" Yes, that was up in Scotland. I remember that. I think he went into did he go into the school? Absolutely horrendous, that. Killing all them poor kids. What's the next Warren Slaney story dropping, Rick? I'll maybe try and get one up in the next week or two, mate. Talk a little bit about Warren Slaney, because I know a lot of people that's been in the prison system or been in the cat ears. Everyone has heard of Warren Slaney, and everyone likes to hear the stories about him. So I'll get something up, or maybe even try and do a video with someone, do a bit of a live or something with someone that's been in with Warren, and we'll talk about him and get it from another point of view. Ashley Alec, hi, Ricky, new to your channel. Do you think living in a rough place and hanging out with the wrong crowd as a young kid, a young lad, made you the young lad you were. Think what you're doing now is fantastic. Thank you very much, Ashley. But yes, definitely, obviously, you don't just turn into being that sort of person. It's obviously what you see when you're younger, when you're growing up, and you're hanging around with certain people, trying to impress other people, trying to impress the older lads that you're knocking around with. So definitely having grown up in a rough place and having negative influences around you is definitely not going to end well with some people. Mark O'Connor, hi Ricky, just subbed. Watched a few of your videos, very informative and brings back memories from younger days. Bradford man, now in Liverpool. Cheers, Mark O'Connor. If anyone's watching this and they can't comment, it's because you're not a subscriber. So go down, hit the subscribe button, then you'll be able to comment. But keep hitting them likes, people. They went up a little bit before, but it's still only at 68, and there's been a few hundred people in here by now. I hope I get the IPP taken off as well, Emma. I will do one day, definitely will. Been a lot of busts around Crewe, believe it or not, but Crewe is the county line's capital of the north. Crazy for that round here. Some of the lads been done on it and looking at 30 years, a few of them. So I've taken obviously the busts for the county lines. Obviously, that's all to do with drugs, and the sentences that people get for drugs is like you get massive sentences these days for drugs. Like you see, even for conspiracies and that, you're getting double figures at least 20 years and not 20 odd years. Especially a lot of them lads that got caught on the Encro chat. And for the viewers that don't know what I'm on about there, Encro chat. At the time, or a few years back, a lot of the criminals were using encrypted phones. So these phones were what people believed were encrypted, so the police couldn't get into them. But they actually did get into them, and a lot of these criminals were passing messages backwards and forwards to each other, blatantly talking about what they were doing, and they've all been nicked on them. And yes, all the things that were in the phone that they thought couldn't come up actually come up, and there's a lot of people being given massive sentences on them. Stephen Butler, Ricky, did you meet Brian Cotterill? I think you must mean Brian Cockerell, do you? The taxman, is that who you're on about? I've never met a Cotterill, but I've met Brian Cockerell, the taxman. I've went down there. I've done a podcast with him about a year ago. So I think that's who you must be on about, mate. Pablo, oi, Ricky lad, hope you're well. I'm doing good, mate. Nice one. Executive Lounge. When you were in Franklin, did you ever come across Ian Huntley? Yes, I did, and I mentioned it on the Franklin documentary. Every time you went down to see, when I got there in Franklin, Ian Huntley come. I think he landed there just after me, and he was put on the hospital wing because he was on suicide watch. I believe that's why he was in the hospital wing. But when you're in the holding cell in Franklin Prison, the doctor's holding cell, so what happens is you've got to walk from the top wings. So we had F&G at the top. You had to walk down the main prison, walk past all what we call the bacon wings, which is the VP wings where all the sex predators are. You had to walk past their wings into the corridor and then into the waiting areas in the hospital. But there was little windows that you could look out and you could see out into other cells. But this is where the likes of Ian Huntley and that were. And the first time I was down there and Ian Huntley had just landed there, there was a lad called Stewie Benson. He was shouting out the windows at the top of his voice, griefing Huntley out the window. And someone was shouting back, or it wasn't him, but it was somebody else that was on the hospital wing. So Stewie Benson was going sick, shouting out the window, Ian Huntley, you're this, you're that, and as you can imagine. And 2 days later, it was in the paper. Ian Huntley's must have been one of the officers that's done it. Or I can't remember what it was. I think he got nicked for it, Stuart Benson, because he'd been shouting out the windows. And one of the screws must have went to the papers and tell them that what had happened, that he'd been nicked. And nicked means he had to go up in front of the governor for shouting abuse at Ian Huntley out the windows. And he got something, I forget what happened to him for that. He got like, what was it, loss of fucking association or canteen or something like that. But like I've mentioned on that Franklin documentary, when we were coming down to healthcare one day, there was a big long corridor, and Huntley was at the top of the corridor waiting to go through the door. So what happens is you've got to wait to get buzzed through, or the screw shouts on the intercom, puts on the intercom, and there was 4 of us. On the door, the gate had opened up, and we all went pegging it down the corridor towards Huntley, but he got out at the other end. Ricky, were you ever in with Kevin Lane, Catwalk Kev? I have, mate. If you have a look go on to my previous videos. I've just done a podcast with Kev about a week ago. I was on the wing with Kev for about 2 years. Had a few good times in Franklin actually with Kev. Believe it or not, when you're in prison, you can still have a bit of enjoy yourself. Sometimes at Christmas and stuff. Try and make the most of it whilst you're in there. But yes, I was in there with Kev, mate, so go and have a look at that. DJ Darkside says that Encro chat was the FBI. They set that up. That Encro chat, I think what it was, someone, I'm forgetting where he was. I think he was from Holland or somewhere like that. Some type of computer geek. He was a big gangster, big time, whatever. He set it up as well. I think he set it up, but then he got nicked for something. He got nicked on a big, massive conspiracy, and then he gave up how to get into these phones, and I'm sure that's what happened with that Encro chat. It might not be 100% right, but it's something along them lines. Bobby Sutherland, how you doing, pal? Gary, Ricky, what makes us sex offenders and the normal Joe public sex offenders get so well looked after? We become homeless. So what? But they get housed right away. Well, you're true there, Gary, and sometimes them sex offenders get housed near schools, which is absolutely ridiculous. Adam Robson says, were you cat A, Ricky, mate? No, I was cat B, but obviously I still got put in there. Franklin's like a cat A, cat B prison, so that's why I ended up over there. Right, people, I've been on for nearly 50 minutes. It's 5 to 9. I'm going to go and chill with my wife for a bit, so I'll give it another 2 minutes. I'm going to wind down. I'm going to go and chill with my wife before I'm back up at 5:30 in the morning for work again. Tor Holman says, when you went back into prison, how did you explain to your kids? When I went back to prison, I got recall. I didn't even expect to go. I wasn't expecting it. The car offence happened 6 months previously, sorry. And my DNA came back on the car airbag. And I explained it to my oldest 2 kids because they were 7 and 9 at the time. But my youngest 2 kids was 2 and 3-year-old, so I had to tell them I had to go away to work. That's the only way I could explain it to them. I couldn't tell them I was in prison. But yes, I told my kids I was my youngest 2, that I was away working to get money for them. MG, I hated fried breakfast before I went to jail. Then after getting it without breakfast meal at dinner time, I started to love it. Even eating it at home reminds me of jail, but can still eat it. But it tastes a lot better than what it is in jail. When you get that scrambled egg in prison, it's like runny fucking custard. Right, I'm going to say good night to everybody. Thanks for tuning in, people. It's been another good one. I'll just probably do these lives maybe once a week. But here's my brother saying good night, bros. Good night, Chris. Get yourself an early light, kid. Get yourself up the gym in the morning. King Jammin. Yeah, it's been a good chat, mate. A nice one. Paul. Good night. John Paul, good night, mate. Yes, Ricky, God bless you on yours. Nice one. Right, people, I'm calling it a day. Thanks for tuning in. Till the next time. See you all later. Good night, everybody.